But let's start off with the environmental group in Dorset who rejected a grant from a water company and their community fund, saying it won't participate in greenwashing. This is Little Green Change, based near Lyme Regis, who run education projects for schools and organisations in South West England. They say they turned down nearly £5,000 from South West Water, accusing the firm of prioritising shareholders above investment to stop pollution. Claire Matheson is the director of Little Green Change and joins me now. Morning, Claire.
Morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Nice to have you there. Should we start a bit with what Little Green Change do?
Yes, so we're a non-profit, award-winning social enterprise. We work both locally and nationally across the UK to deliver environmental education action to primary and secondary age children. And we also do a lot across communities as well.
Sure, and presumably not exactly rolling in cash.
No, it's financially, we're actually genuinely really struggling, which is why, working with environmentally conscious companies is so vital for our long-term financial stability. But just to make it clear as well, we didn't actually go specifically for a fund that was offered by South West Water. We put our pitch on like lots of other organisations, non-profits and charities do, using a funding platform called Action Funder. So we asked for £4,825 to help us deliver more for our biodiversity in schools work and across communities with children. And that is when South West Water, it could have been one of many companies, decided to offer us that sum of money, which we rejected.
But kind of history to this then, have you ever made this kind of stand in the past?
Excluding South West Water, no. But we have been quite careful to kind of reach out to businesses which we feel are doing positive things. So, we recently, a bit earlier this year, announced our first partnership with Haven, who have got 39 holiday parks across the UK. They are doing a lot to promote environmental stuff with children, and they've got lots planned as well for their sites. So, that type of organisation, we're delighted to work with them. There are so many organisations and companies, profit-making companies out there that are doing really positive things, with lots more planned for the, down the future. So this decision wasn't taken lightly. Financially, it would have had a big impact on us. Last financial year, our turnover was about 21,000. We're not talking like, large sums of money. We do struggle financially to cover our core costs. So this wasn't a decision made lightly. But when you look at South West Water, they were given a red score over pollution for the 14th year in a row, meaning they're significantly below standard, according to the Environment Agency. They're bottom of the league tables across all the water companies with 189 pollution incidents last year. Parts of our local river, the River Lynn, were declared ecologically dead relatively recently because of the pumping of sewage within to that river. So, it's not something that, decision we made lightly, like I say, but it's the right decision to make.
Let me put South West Water's point across here. So they say they're disappointed not to support Little Green Change, but they say, serious about reducing pollution, investing almost £750 million over the next 5 years to reduce the use of storm overflows. Events coordinator Kirsty Paulson says the company's made great strides towards reducing pollution. We've already removed, they say, 3/4 of the top 20 spilling sites from 2023, reducing spills at bathing beaches by 20% over the past 5 years. I do wonder if this is, Claire, a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. These, not just South West Water, but there are companies that have these big sums of money that they want to use to, I guess to a certain extent, get that tick to say that they are doing green work, and that would enable you to make these little green changes that you pride yourself on.
Yeah, they're big sums of money for tiny little organisations and voluntary organisations like ourselves, but they're not big sums of money when it comes to the amount of money that they're paying out to shareholders. Millions and millions of pounds being paid out on shareholder dividends each year. So we're not talking about large sums of money for good causes like this when you take that into account. And their PR team can say whatever they want, but the facts and the monitoring data speaks for itself. Surfers Against Sewage nationally are doing an amazing job at highlighting just how many pollution incidents there are regularly if it's heavy rain, you can almost be guaranteed that they're going to be pumping sewage into the local river, into the ocean. So, and then more locally to us, the River Limb Action Group, who have got an amazing ecologist there, they're doing work to monitor the impacts on wildlife, and also, there's an impact on human health and on pets' health as well. Lots of people let their dogs swim in the river, or they'll jump into the river, and people get sick, every single year. So, this is not something which is, can be just brushed over by their, excellent PR team. We're not prepared to kind of do that. We're not prepared to fall in line and be part of their greenwashing attempts.
Just finally, Claire, you mentioned the ratings that were dished out by the Environment Agency last week, wasn't it? Which was 23rd of October.
Yeah.
I think only one company in the UK achieved full marks on those ratings. I mean, if South West up to their game to that kind of level, would that be enough for you to accept money if they came to you in the future?
Do you know what? If they actually, did genuinely start putting the sums of money into the infrastructure, improving the infrastructure, if they, were genuinely serious about kind of, their impact on the environment and on human health by, putting on those sums of money, then we 100% start speaking to them and reconsider our decision. It's not something, like I said, we want to do financially. It impacts us significantly. But it's the right thing to do. And I think our support that we've had on social media from people like George McGavin, the entomologist, the bug guy, and from our local MP Richard Ford, who come out in support of us, kind of helps highlight that. As does our support by Graham Roberts, the ecologist at River Limb Action Group, who has praised us for our stance on this. Because, it would just be so much easier to take the money and then, turn a blind eye to everything that's going on. But that's just not who we are as a business.
Good to talk with you this morning. Claire Matheson from Little Green Change in Lyme Regis. You can read more about that story on the Dorset pages of the BBC News app.
Steve Harris at breakfast. BBC Radio Solent.
8:15 on this Tuesday morning. Thank you for being with us.